Buenos días, esta es una nueva edición del podcast, una edición especial en la que tenemos como invitado a Mr. Chris Roberts, el creador de Star Citizen. Hello, Mr. Roberts.
Hello.
Hello.
Hola. There you go. Is that right?
I'd like to make the first question is about translations in the game. The community Star Citizen, the Ciudadano Estelar is about how it's going to make the translation in Spanish, because we are suffering for years of very terrible translation of games in PC and consoles, and we don't like to see that happen to Star Citizen. We want to accurate and a very good translation of Spanish. So how it's going to be, what are your plans for the translation, and if you are going to involve the community in the process of make the translation into Spanish, English, French, etc.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to involve the community. We've talked about potentially setting up things like the website so the community themselves can do the translation, like you would have some, like we have on the forums, you have, volunteer moderators and they're moderating, so maybe there could be volunteer translators, not like you can do on something like Wikipedia or whatever. For the general game, we're planning to localize in what they call eFigs, which is it's English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish. It's sort of the name in the industry for what you do for that. But we're going to have French, German, and Spanish as both the voice and obviously the text, and then the other ones will probably be more like text, and we'll probably do some other translations as well. So, but in terms of like how we're handling that level of the translation, I mean, the way I don't know if you played any of my old Wing Commanders, I can't remember whether they were good or not. I mean, I know that when we did them, we had specific. There was a whole team that had on the translation, and we also had the voice actors that played the role, played Mark Hamill when they dubbed Star Wars, or played Mark McDowell. So we'd try to do the same stuff for Star Citizen. We're just not at that stage yet. That's something we'll probably be doing towards the end of next year.
Let me clarify one thing. You're meaning that there's going to be voiceover in Spanish and French and English and German for the game?
Yes, Spanish, French, and German.
So it's not a stretch goal. It's something that is already for the game.
So we're planning for that. Everything else will be subtitled, but maybe we would consider some other voice localization too. But generally, that's sort of the standard on big games anyway. I mean, that's what it used to be when I was doing mine. So we're planning to do the same for Star Citizen, because there's Spain, but there's a lot of other countries that also speak Spanish. So it's a really good one to localize in.
Okay, that's great news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think my Frozen wants to make a question.
Okay, hello, Mr. Roberts. I am Frost from the 127th Angry Angels. Maybe you know our squadron is pretty popular. We are going to do refueling for the community. We are a logistic squadron.
You retaliators?
Sorry, I didn't get you. No, I'm not a military in the military. I'm saying I am from. I am not in the military. I am from a squadron in the game that is going to be about logistics, about refueling. I'm just presenting myself.
That's what I was saying. Got a few retaliators. I actually should have said staff there.
Okay, sorry. So I have a question for you from the community. The Star Citizen project has made almost 34 million through crowdfunding. That's 11 million over what you plan as a final budget to realize your vision of the game. Also, it seems like it will get to $50 million at launch, possibly even more, which means all incoming stretch goals are meant to enhance the core game. So my question pretty much was answered by you, because you said that you were going to dub the Squadron 42. You're going to dub also the Star Citizen core game, the Persistent Universe. That's what I mean.
I mean, definitely. So we're, Squadron 42 and then the core universe as much as we can, basically. Because the core universe we're always going to be adding to. But the good news about raising all the money that we've raised, and obviously I don't think it's going to stop now. We'll carry on going to a certain amount. It just means that I'm not very worried now about being able to deliver the best possible experience, because essentially right now this is the biggest funded space game ever, and we're already significant compared to even some other games and publishers do. Because we don't have any overhead, so our 33 million is more like $40+ million or $50 million of EA or Activision, and of course, we're going to carry on going. So for me, what I view as the money we raise before the game comes out is really just about making the game bigger and better, and more content, more ships. Maybe the systems are more sophisticated. So and also the other thing we've been able to do because of more money is I'm able to start more people sooner, so we're going wider in terms of the talent developing than we would have done if we didn't have as much money. So that's sort of allowing me to make sure that more of the game and more of the content and functionality will be available earlier than it would have been if we didn't have as much money. So I think it'll just be better for everyone. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's awesome that this many people are so excited about this kind of game, that they've helped support it to the level that we can make one that will compete with anyone else out there. I mean, we don't have to worry. It's not like we have to go, we want to have, I'm not saying we're going to go and have, a big actor or someone or, do this special technology or whatever, but, the decisions we'll be making aren't really about can we afford it. The decisions are going to be making about what's best for the game, what will make the game the funnest, what will make it the most immersive.
Yeah, because that's great, but even if you have lots of money, it's going to be a logistical nightmare to constantly be updating every week or every 2 weeks, because you want to constantly update the product, and it's going to be a nightmare for you to release patches with planets and new characters in Spanish, German, and French.
No, it's definitely that's part of what having more of the money now means that I can invest in the infrastructure plan for how this gets rolled out. So there's a lot of things like probably what would have happened if we didn't have as much money. Some of the stuff that I'm talking about would happen, but it would happen later and along the way. Whereas now I can start to really think about, well, how do I set this up so this can work on a more global basis. So we certainly out of the box will, like I said, do sort of the core Persistent Universe stuff in Squadron 42, and then we just got to figure out the process of the ongoing content that we add. And obviously, that's always slightly tricky because everyone's going to be playing in the same universe live at the same time. So I don't know whether we will necessarily be able to basically release everything localized in the same language, or maybe you can play, but it's in English, but a week later they recorded the Spanish stuff and now it will be in Spanish. I don't know, but we haven't worked out those details yet. But definitely the extra funds is going to allow us to essentially have servers around the world instead of just starting in 1 or 2 locations, and work on the infrastructure and then just make a better game. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, seems you have all figured it out.
No, don't. This is an incredibly huge, big project, and it's a massive undertaking, and people that have huge amounts of resources like Electronic Arts or Activision Blizzard mess up all the time. So
yeah, you tell me.
We'll see rationally.
I would be delusional if I thought that we were going to be perfect all the time. I think that like anyone else, we'll make mistakes, but our heart's in the right place. We don't have any extra noise because all we are is Star Citizen. We're not part of a bigger company that's forcing us to ship this for this date or work with this system because you've got some marketing deal or whatever it is. So we just care about making the decisions that work really well for Star Citizen, so that'll give us some advantage. But I'm sure that, there'll be little things that won't work, or, it's just human nature. The bigger the project, with the more things you've got, the more things can go wrong. I think that we've got some ideas about how to maybe avoid some things that other people have encountered, but that's not to say we won't encounter some other things that will not necessarily work out. But the thing that I can say is that we're just committed to making this work and make it work really well, and we've got the whole community supporting us, so I think we're in a really good position to make it work, which in some ways for some other people it's not as easy because of the nature we've done it, right? All you guys have backed it now. You're like partners in getting this game done almost, and it's sort of, so like even rolling it out and getting the glitches out and figuring it out, that's the whole point of testing the modules. It's like everyone, to me it feels like everyone's one big team or community that wants to see this thing happen. And that's a completely different attitude than, say, a group of people that like play an open beta of something that's just about ready to come out, which is, what's happened, I think, for some of the bigger publishers is they've had some open betas and there's been problems with it, or you see problems with the Battlefield right now, or you had SimCity before. Whereas I just think the attitude of our audience, because everyone's getting involved much sooner, hopefully, we won't be perfect, but hopefully we'll maybe be in a better position to be a bit smoother when we get to that point.
The only thing I can tell you is that if you keep honest and you are honest with the community, we will pardon everything you do wrong. You only have to need to say things beforehand, and people are going to understand you, because we all know there are going to be problems. We have to move on because we only have so much time with you. River has a question for you. So,
yes. Good afternoon, thanks, Frost. Good afternoon, Mr. Roberts. I think it's afternoon there, right?
It is, yeah. It's like 3:30 in the afternoon. So it's late. 3:30. Nice to meet you. So do I say Alberto or do I say Riva? What's that?
Your choice. I don't mind. Okay, moving to the question. In previous interviews, you have stated that you've been working in the game's code for a year before it was introduced in the Game Developers Conference at 2012. Which piece of that code was the most challenging, and what part are you most proud of?
Well, I would say probably the most. We use CryEngine, but CryEngine's a very, very powerful, but it's a very difficult, complicated piece of software because it's so powerful. So it took a lot of time for me to get the basic flying spaceship stuff working, and I spent a huge amount of time on essentially because CryEngine doesn't support this, but to make the big bit like that huge carrier, right? The Bengal carrier, you could see it was like literally a kilometer long in scale, and you could fly inside a land and all the guns tracked, and you could be on the bridge looking out while people were flying around and dogfighting outside. So for me, that was kind of, that's probably what I'm the proudest of, because I basically took the vehicle system, which really was only built for like a buggy or a tank, and you couldn't actually be inside it like you can in our stuff, and didn't have any of the fidelity to detail in all the bits that move and animation. And so that was what I was really working on, sort of proof of concept. Can you sort of create the ships with that level of fidelity that you can actually be inside, and there's all these little parts that you can touch and use and move, and you can have a ship fly inside another ship, and just like, and really sort of deliver some of the scale that, like, for me, when I've always grown up watching science fiction movies, I've always wanted to have that feeling of like really, flying the Millennium Falcon inside to the Death Star and getting out and walking around the Death Star. That was the awesome. So, that was sort of what the big proof of concept was, and can you do something in that like fidelity? Because now we see a lot of games that have got, obviously they've increased the polygon counts because of the new consoles and everything. But back when I was working on the prototype, which was a year before I even showed it, everyone was thinking that was like an insane amount of detail for a spaceship or a character. So it was just fun to prototype that, because it sort of felt like it was. I was not worrying about the past. I was thinking, okay, well, we really want to push it. What can we do? So I think that's what I'm proudest of. It was fun, and there was a moment that I went to show because Crytek were really nice, and they gave me everything. So there, look, just check it out, use it. Don't worry about, like, we'll figure out what the deal is, down the road. But, like I said, it's incredibly difficult. So I sort of showed them an early version of the prototype, probably in a game developers conference in March of 2012. So I showed the game to the public in October. And it was actually kind of fun sitting in a meeting with, like, all the engineers that worked on the engine and showing them, like, getting in the ship and all the things that the ship did. And they, like, it was like basically all their, like, jaws dropped on the floor, which was pretty awesome because it's their engine, right?
That was my sensation when I saw it for the first time. It was like, okay, Star Wars met Galactica, and then they made it, and then it came out this epic sci-fi, and it's at its finest, certainly.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I mean, the goal is to give you that. It's not to be as limited as maybe some of my past ones, like the Wing Commander, or the Privateers, or the Freelancers. They're all really good, but they're sort of limited at the time by what you could do with the technology. And so now I feel like you can really have much more of that sort of epic feeling or sense. I mean, I was looking at I was sort of going over some of the locations on Terra, which is one of the main places you can go to. But it's not like Freelancer or Privateer where it's just a couple of, like, little rooms. I mean, it's like, first of all, I think there's 3 different locations you can land on the planet itself. But in each one of the, like, Terra Prime, which is the main city, has something like 25 plus different locations, like different rooms, shops, guilds, like walking around. There's a subway to take you. I mean, it's like it's a whole thing that you can do exploring just on that planet. I mean, so that was never something that in the past I was able to do, and we can do here. I mean, partly because we've got some pretty amazing backing. But yeah, I'm pretty. I mean, it's a lot of work to get all that stuff done. So there's a vast amount of work for a lot of people building all the content. But when it's in, going between planets and going down a shady back alleyway to get a mission or something, I think it's just gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that's right. It's we can say pretty certainly that it's a living, breathing universe, literally, I think. And keeping on with the interview, I think Adamander has a question for you, or was it Frost?
No, it's me.
Okay.
The one thing I want to say before make my question is that I think that all the work you did for the demo was the key, that was part of the key of this success. Show a solid project and a plan on how it's going to be developed. The game is one of the keys. That's why we are on 34 million right now.
I 100% agree. I mean, because it's one thing to say, hey, I want to go, like, it's easy for Tim Schafer to say, I want to do a graphic convention. You kind of know what it is, and it's not that big of a project relatively. But, I'm talking about a huge universe that I want to build and everything. And so I think unless I was showing something, it would be hard for people to really, buy into it to the level they bought into it. I mean, I definitely think there'll be some people who go, well, I like Wing Commander, I like Privateer, I like Freelancer, so I'll back it. But I think if you actually can see you can see a little bit of what the dream could be like, it makes it much easier for people to believe it, I guess, would be the way to.
Yes, that's the key, because the people see that there's something real to pledge on, not just some ideas and explained by a talented person like you, but see the demo, that carrier flying within those asteroids, and that the whole battle, it was awesome, and show that there's a whole work behind the proposal, that there's no steam.
They say smoke and mirrors in America, I think. But yeah, no, totally. And I would say that, and the other thing that we're trying to do is, because we try to, like, share as much of what we do and, have a lot of updates, it's really because, like I said, all the money we're raising is basically just being spent on developers. And, like, if we raise more money, it just means I can hire, like, the best film concept artist or whatever. And it's, so I think it's good to show people that, because a lot of times, people raise money and then it's just like a black hole and you don't know, okay, well, what's happening? So for us, even if we, something doesn't work out perfectly, or we say, what, we want to take a little longer to make this thing perfect, so we don't want to give it to you just yet. Even in that case, it's not like it won't be a case that you won't know what's happening, because you'll still see like the updates and things are happening, and you can see the people working. So everyone knows that the money that they basically put towards making this dream a reality is getting used on the game, to make the best thing possible. And everybody on the team itself are like committed to basically, it's like make an awesome game.
So I think we understand perfectly. And the question I want to ask you now is, there's going to be mod tools for the persisting universe to allow the community evolve their own private servers and make their mods of the game. What about missions editor to make our own campaigns?
No, well, definitely. So that'll all be there. So like one of our focuses is, we're just starting right now to sort of spec out the tools that we're going to, because a lot of the stuff right now is more on trust me, it wouldn't be very user-friendly at the moment. But the plan is like all the tools that we're building for like populating the planet side or mission editor tools for, say, Squadron 42 are going to be built in a way that they're front-facing, so they're easy for people to use in the modding community. So that's kind of one of the specs. So like a lot of times in game development, you may do something, say, simpler if it was just for internal use, whereas for because this is going to be used for modding as well, we actually will put an extra amount of work into the presentation of it to make the interface easier and simpler and stuff like that. So that's sort of in progress. But yeah, that's definitely a part. So you'll have there'll be tools to sort of build your own missions, drop people down, and all that for the modding side of stuff.
Okay. Frost, do you have any question for Chris Roberts?
Yeah. My question is about multifunction displays. Will Star Citizen truly support those, or it will be a stretch of the highest resolution that deforms the image, as happens in most games that claim to support multifunction displays?
So do you mean multifunction in the game
about having a multi-monitor setup, and when you increase, when you are doing that in some games,
like if you use iInfinity, for instance,
because the iInfinity deforms the image, and it seems like a frog's eye. It seems deformed, like one camera, and for example, a table, instead of looking circular, it looks like an ellipsis, like an ellipsoid. And
so you should. When I did the AMD, I was at they did their unveiling of the new card, the R290, whatever, R9 or whatever X. I did iInfinity, and we actually did some work to not have it be that weird stretched field of view thing.
Yeah,
so if you actually look on the stage, that was actually on. We were projecting, but it was 3 monitors worth, and it was the aspect ratio is correct. So we actually have. We're putting work into making sure that we work with multiple displays, including in the HUD. Like we've already broken up in such a way that it should wrap around. So yes, we're definitely going to be supporting that.
That's great. It was a worry that a lot of people in the community had, because most games don't do that right, like iRacing. They make something half-baked, and it looks deformed.
Right. Well, no, it's a big thing for us. So we're pretty keen on supporting things like HOTAS joysticks, setups. And a whole bunch of sort of higher end peripheral setups, because we just think it's cool and more immersive.
Okay, thanks. I think now River has the question for you.
All right.
Okay, last question. We still have many questions to do, but I'll just keep on with the script we prepared. And we know the game is focused in the player's ability to handle their ships. And if the ship the player is using and the way it is being prepared by the pilot, do you think the overclocked items like alien tech or high quality materials that can be added to the chips are going to unbalance the game? I mean, if I'm gonna be beaten by someone, be it because he has 1,500 APMs more than me, like in StarCraft 2, because I'm really bad at StarCraft. But beat by that, because he or she is a better pilot than me, and not only because he or she has a better ship equipped than mine.
Well, no, I mean, I think that the skill aspects can be very important, because it doesn't even matter. I mean, if you have an overclocked weapon or whatever, it's not, you've still got to get on someone's tail, you've still got to hit them, you got to do all these other things. And then the way that we're conceiving the overclocking is very much like you would overclock a computer, which means that yes, you can get maybe another 10 or 20% out of it, which would be perhaps another 10 or 20% of damage. But you have a huge price to pay for that. So, a lot like in a computer example, that usually means a lot more heat, right? So you've got to have more cooling to keep it under control. And it's exactly the same in our model. So, as you overclock, you start to ramp up the heat, and then you've either got to cool it, and if you're not cooling it, it can either be damaging your weapons, or if it's not damaging weapons, it's still increasing your heat signature. And so, the way the game works, we have different signatures for radar. So, we have heat, electromagnet, reflective, and basically, if you're pushing up a lot of heat, it's very easy to lock on you. Whereas if you had a ship that you set up where you were basically, cooling and getting rid of all your heat, dissipating your heat, then it would be much harder for you to lock on. So, you may have a ship that you've got, you can pack a bit more of a punch, but you're paying a price for it. The whole game, the whole combat's been set up with that, where, we're really aiming to have this sort of, trade-offs, right? So you go one way, but then you'll not be so good in this other way.
Yeah,
and of course, that's why we wanted also, when the dogfighting module comes out, the whole point of that is, again, to balance these things, because I don't want a game that, you just roll in with the undefeatable ship, and even if you're not very good, you beat everyone. That wouldn't be fun in my mind.
That's a pretty good thing, because as a former X-Wing Alliance, X-Wing versus T-Fighter pilot on the internet, we practiced with ships, and there were a certain amount of combinations that were unbeatable. I mean, there was literally no way to beat a certain kind of fighter with countermeasures and missiles. So basically, if you tell me that by buffing one system, like power weapons, is going to nerf your stealth capability, that's good. That's balance, and you'll have to think twice before upgrading something. So cool. Thank you.
No, it's very rock paper scissors. I mean, you were using StarCraft as an example. I mean, I really like StarCraft and StarCraft 2 a lot. But yeah, everything in that's like rock paper scissors. Even the super units, right? It's like the most recent StarCraft. I like to play Terrans, and those battle cruisers are pretty awesome. But there's things that will take those out pretty easily. You just got to know. It's really, for me, I feel like how you equip your ship, how you set it up, and all these different things you do will sort of affect your how you play against someone else. So if someone plays a certain play style, you may very well set your ship equipment up differently than if they played a different way, if that makes any sense. And I think that'll be fun for people, because that hasn't been in Wing Commander or Privateer or Freelancer before.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Adamanter, you want to say something? Or
I think, yes, just playing multiple times that the instance systems, but most people, it seems that doesn't grab it. You can elaborate a little more about it. I mean, for example, there's going to be multiple instances for an explorable area where there's something that is unique, or is there's going to be just one instance for that unique for example.
The consistent locations that we're going to have in space, they won't be instanced. So there will be only one, like a space station. And so then there'll only be a limited amount of people who can be on it at any one time. And so there is a bit of an edge case of how do you handle it if more people want to go to that place and you can fit on it. So we got some ideas for that, but we haven't quite figured that out yet. But the way the instancing works is, the idea is, it's only instances when it has to, right? So as long as there's enough room for the people that happen to be in that section of space, they'll all be in the same area. It's just that when we create an instance, we basically allow for a certain amount of people in it, and also reserve some slots for friends and everything to show up. So if all that is basically full, and you arrive in the same area of space, and you're not a friend of someone that's in this other instance or whatever, and you wouldn't really know those people, we will spin up a separate instance, which think of it as being sort of like in the same place but in another dimension would be a good way to think of it. And then you would start filling in that. But the likelihood is there's lots of places that will never really be instanced, and it's dynamic because it's creating the instance and destroying it as it goes along. So for most people, the game should feel like they're walking around, they're flying around this world, and there's people in it, and they don't even conceive of the fact that maybe there was some instancing. It's just that if they're in an area of space and there's 50 ships, there could be 200 ships in like for instance Terra, like basically the places where there'd probably be the heaviest instancing would be like someone like Terra or Earth, where a lot of people would go because they're going to land on the planet, so they'll be in orbit. And in that case, you could quite easily probably have 400 people in Earth around Terra, but of course you can't really display 400 people all at once. So that would maybe be, 8 instances that would be running. But generally you would put people in the instances that knew each other. So like you and your friends, because we know what your friends list is, we go, okay, well, Antonio wants to be with Alberto and Manuel, right? So we put all you guys together, and so you show up, say, hey, let's meet at Terra. Oh, okay, we're all here. So you're not really even you wouldn't really sort of even conceive of there another instance going on. Like where it would be obvious would be if you and 100 of your friends got together and said, okay, let's all be in orbit around Terra, and you show up, but we can't fit 100 people. I don't know, maybe we can, but say we couldn't fit 100 people in one instance, all of you wouldn't be in the instance. That's the only time it's going to show up. So I would say that it would probably be an issue more for like large groups of people, like big guilds or something that are trying to organize like a large scale warfare, than it would be for most of the players. Most of the players I don't think are ever even going to realize that it's instancing, because it's not like World of Warcraft where you're in this shard and that's where you are. It's just as you move, even as you go from planet to another planet, you'll go in and out of different instances. Every time, like if you in the Wing Commander or the Privateer analogy, dropping in and out of like autopilot into the nav areas, you drop out the nav area, you drop out, and you get basically put into an instance. And maybe there's some other people in that instance, maybe there's a couple of instances in that area because there's so many people there. But you most of the time wouldn't even realize that this is all happening. So I think for most people, it will just feel like a big living, breathing universe.
We are really sorry for asking this again, because we know you are sick of explaining this. But
it's okay. I mean,
over.
I think it's one of these things that basically people are going to have to play and see, and then I think it's going to be less of an issue or worry. I mean, the things that are difficult to work well is, like I said, the case when there's a lot of players all decide to get together in the same place to either attack one system like a space station, like I mentioned at the beginning of one of my answer, or you have a big guild war and it's like a lot of people fighting each other. Those are the only two real cases where the instancing is going to be, will sort of creep into the world, so to speak, the immersion of the world. Because other than that, mostly it's going to just feel like you're flying around and there's other people flying around, and you're running across other traders or whatever. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Okay, I have. I know we are out of your allotted time, so I don't want to keep you from your work. So I have a final question. If you want to leave, if you want to.
No, God. Why don't you just? If everyone does one more question, then we're good.
Okay. This question is about the Galactopedia. We wanted to know if the Galactopedia is going to be a lore-friendly way to access the timeline of the game, every event that takes place in the universe, or is going to be like a Wikipedia with all the gameplay elements, the lore, the ship stats, and so on and so on.
So the Galactopedia is meant to be the in-fiction Galactopedia. So we'll probably have something parallel for like the non-in-fiction stuff, like gameplay, like how to do the stuff. But the Galactopedia is meant to be like the real Galactopedia of this universe. And my goal is, first off, we're going to like have the different locations and characters all in there, but also the stuff that happens once the universe is live that the players do. like if there's a big like war between two guilds or someone takes over, or someone discovers a jump point, for instance, all that would actually also go into the Galactopedia. So kind of the idea is, once we're running and people are doing stuff in the game, even the content people on our side that are adding more content for the game are seeing what the players are doing, and they're actually taking some of that and feeding it back into the content we're generating. So, maybe there's a big guild war that goes on somewhere, and we decide, okay, well, let's generate some missions for people to take supplies to the planets that are in the middle of this war, because you need to have, people are starving because no supplies have been getting through or whatever. So the idea is to sort of use what the community is doing to feed off it. Like you could maybe even have you go into a bar and there's a news report, and the news report's about an action that is a player action. And so the bigger things should get into the Galactopedia, and that's the whole idea, is where I want people to feel like this universe, it's a real universe that they have impact in. And if they do big or great things, it will be recorded forever. And I think that, again, that's much cooler to me than getting an achievement trophy in Xbox or anything.
Yeah, way cooler. And I hope you never implement achievements, because
the only achievements we have are like in-fiction achievements, right? So like you're already fish tank. So like the idea is different planets you go and visit, we'll have the equivalent, like you fly different places, you always have the novelty store in the airport.
Your stamp on your luggage.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to have in-fiction stuff that like you can go to your hangar and you can sort of go and you look into it, and your friend can visit you and you can sort of almost see like where they've been in the galaxy because of the knickknacks they brought back. But it should all be in fiction. I don't like any of this like go to I hate that whole achievement system that they use in consoles, so it doesn't feel like it's part of the game. I want it to feel like it's in fiction.
You are the man, because the achievement system is really against everything that makes a game fun, because it makes people, for example, kill 5,000 creatures just for the sake of unlocking, and that doesn't mean you're a better gamer or a better person. You just have lost 100 hours doing something mechanical.
Yeah, so, and maybe they want a cookie later after that.
But for me, I want achievements to be relevant to the game, right? So if I go and get like whatever, a little fridge magnet.
And the pilot that killed pirate robbers.
Yes, pirate robbers.
I feel like if it's in fiction, it's cool. So that's kind of the idea. So we're gonna do an update with the hangar, and we'll have like a little trophy case and stuff in it that you can display things like whatever the planets you went to. Right now, we're gonna put like if you're a golden ticket holder, your golden ticket will be in the trophy cabinet in your hangar, and that kind of stuff.
Maybe some snapshots of the best vistas in the universe.
Well, no, that's kind of the idea. The idea would be to have that. I mean, I actually thought one of the coolest things in Grand Theft Auto 5 was that ability where you could take selfies. You go around,
selfies. Yeah, pictures
of yourself in different locations in the place. But yeah, definitely, because I want people to explore. I want people to go around this universe, and like we're deliberately building the universe in a way that. It's not like you go into one shop and you can get every weapon and every ship and all the rest of stuff. It's like, no, you have to go to different parts of the galaxy. Like in this fight, this is the guy that makes the best this kind of weapon, or this is the best place that makes the best this kind of ship. You actually have to fly and travel there to go and buy it. And, I want to have a little bit of that because it forces you to go in the universe and give you reason to go to different locations. Yeah,
it isn't for the casuals, but the logistics makes the game more interesting, and it feels like a real world, not like every bartender in the universe has all the liquors in the galaxy, even Xi'an liquors that anyone there would like.
Yeah, I want that. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, I want it to be, it's like. Yeah, I mean, to have a holiday planet and you go there and they've got their own little spot. I mean, there needs to be that. You need that. I mean, to be honest with you, in today's world, you almost don't have that. I remember when I was growing up, visiting different countries was a bigger deal than it is now. I mean, now everybody, you see everything on TV, you see everything on the internet, and so people sort of feel like they know everything even if they haven't even been there. I think it's kind of fun to go and explore different places that people don't know about. So I definitely want to have an aspect of that in the game.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I don't know if we've got time for a little more questions. Do we have time for more questions?
I said we'll do one more round. So Manuel had his. So you have one more, and
Oh, okay, we can stay here for hours talking with you. No problem. It's not taking you from your work or whatever you had to do. You are very busy building the game with remote.
Yeah, we don't want the forums to come at us and say, "Hey, you delayed the work. It's all of you. It's all because of you."
Yeah, I think an extra 20 minutes isn't going to kill anyone.
Okay, that
sounds good.
Thank you very much. Then I'm going to ask something. The game is fully funded, is raising money in a rate that is incredible, and seems that it's going to last 10 years, easily, maybe 15, 20. Do you hear me?
Yeah. No, I just said touch wood. It's like a superstitious thing. I've got a wooden desk, so I was touching it.
It's the thing in Spanish. Tocar madera.
Touch wood.
Touch wood. Touch wood. Yeah, okay. Okay. What's the plan in the long run? I mean, do you want to expand the universe to become a full real universe? I mean, where people can do anything in every planet. For example, even be a farmer that grows crops and sell them in the market for profit. For example.
Well, yeah. No, so yeah. My goal, as Just Star Citizen carries on, is to make the universe bigger, richer, and deeper. So continue to sort of add not only new locations and ships, characters, stories, all the rest of stuff, but also functionality, right? So, at some point, and this is difficult because, like detailing a world out is a lot, right? So, but it'd be nice to be able to fly from space down onto the world. It'd be nice to be able to fly around on the world. It'd be nice to do more stuff down on the ground, like you said, you could have a farm or whatever. So we're doing aspects of that now, little bits of it, and all that sort of stuff would increase. Because for me, I just sort of view Star Citizen as a destination, and it's like an alternate universe or world. And if I'm still lucky enough to be working on it in 10 years' time, all I'll be thinking about is like what extra cool stuff we can put in. How can we make it more of a immersive universe? So that's kind of what the goal is. My goal is, when we have the game, like when we finally say, okay, it's done now. That's not the end. It's the beginning. Like we're just keeping on going. It doesn't end. We just keep trying to make it better and cooler and richer and deeper.
That's the feeling I had. I've been in the project from the day one. You won me with the demo when I saw Vega Sector Kurosawa system. I cried of happiness. I thought, oh my God, the Kilrathi are back. Unfortunately, they were not the Kilrathi, but I didn't care. It was your project, and it was awesome. The rest of the video was awesome, and I thought I had to be here. I'm not man that pledge in crowdfunding because I know it's very risky, and I'm not the man that has money, and I cannot afford to pledge for all the games I like. So. But Star Citizen was I must. Because,
thank you. It's a pretty without you.
No, but my feeling.
We wouldn't be sitting here and wouldn't be having the opportunity to build this great thing. So I'm really thankful. It's awesome.
Yes, but my feeling was that as you were developing the game and around this year, I saw the game evolving and expanding and my feeling was that it's going to be much more than just a simple space sim. Of course, we've got the boarding mechanics, and there's going to be fight in several locations in the game. But so far, they're going to be more like arenas than a real ground content. But I think that the game, I have the feeling that you had the idea to expand it to make it a truly real universe where there's content in space, but there's also content in the ground, and maybe that there will be planets that can be fully explored and travel around there with cars or with vehicles different than ships, and even fight or be a dancer, for example, as I say, and that's one thing that is gonna make this game really unique and great. It's going to a compendium of everything in MMO. No, I think. I don't know.
But that's the goal. The goal is to really just keep on building and adding, and to make it. I mean, basically, I care. It's like a world. So I want to build this world, and we're going to keep on building and fleshing it out. We may even do some sort of linear stuff where, like you could have Tales of Kid Crimson. That could be a TV show about, Kid Crimson and a cliffhanger thing or whatever. So there's always going to be, we're going to just keep on trying to build and flesh out the world. I think it's going to be an awesome world.
No, it's already an awesome world.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Right now, the sky is the limit. And so, keeping on, we are getting out of a script because we never thought you were going to give us more than half an hour. So, I have a question for you. We know you are going to expand the history of the universe and introduce the Kerzak eventually, and keep on expanding the frontier of the human knowledge of the galaxy. So, eventually, we will have complete changes in the political aspect of the empire. The border with the Xi'an may become a war zone. Maybe the Kerzak will come from the north of the of our borders, and maybe the Bandul will become like the Klingons in Star Trek, that they were the enemies at the beginning, but then they become maybe allies you cannot maybe trust.
Yeah, so, I'm not sure about the Bandul, but yes.
Yeah, they are pretty angry at us. I don't know what we did, but they seem to be pretty pissed off.
I just think they're like it's just who they are. It's like the model of them is sort of the Visigoths and the Vandals of antiquity. Again, that would always be raiding against ancient Rome, and I'm not sure they were pissed off at Rome, but Rome was the big fat rich thing that they could go and raid and pillage. So that's kind of sort of what the Vandal are about.
Yeah, it's a way of life, but maybe the story will change. That's what I am. I really like combat, so I am not like an Adamanter that really likes to be a farmer in a planet.
No, that's not true.
I am more like a pew pew, things explode, and I am into the military aspect of the game. But I'm really looking forward to see how you span the history. Maybe River has a...
I tell you, that's a big goal. Like, I want the history to evolve again. Like, I think I've just talked about the game itself as time goes on. Like, it should feel like time has passed and, governments fall and things change. And you shouldn't feel like it's static. Because that's what I feel like most MMOs. So that's one of my big goals with the game.
Yeah. One little question about that. You're gonna keep the timeline going, like 1 second is 1 second in the universe, or you are gonna compress the timeline? So, for example, one day is a week in game, so the events can move forward.
Haven't fully decided, but my guess is it will be compressed to some level, just because otherwise, not a lot happens. Even if we went for 10 years, 10 years is relatively a pretty short period of time.
Yeah.
Of like world history, let alone galactic history. So I would say that I don't know. I don't know what the scale is, but you could probably like in a play session see the day-night cycle on like the planet you're on, like I don't know, 3-4 times. I'm just making a guess here. So essentially, I think that the time will be sped up. So maybe a calendar year for us could represent 10 years in the universe or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that would make sense, because that way we can change imperators, see different governments rise and fall, and that will move along the history better. And Haddock has something to do, because he would get bored in one day, every day.
That's what's fascinating about science fiction. Science fiction and all universes, fantasy, comedy, but science fiction has the capability of bringing everything we have known about our history to things that could happen. Science fiction for me is the big what if in the history of literature and pop culture.
That's like all my stuff. Whenever I do, the same with Wing Commander. But like generally, I always use the model of some part of history to sort of form the base of the story, right? I mean, and if you look at science fiction that you like, most of it generally is that. I mean, for instance, the Foundation trilogy, that Asimov did, that's all based on the fall of ancient Rome. I mean, that's the decline and fall of ancient Rome and the rise afterwards. And even Star Wars, if you think about it, there's definitely elements that are informed by sort of the ancient Roman times. So Wing Commander was War in the Pacific, World War II, and Korathi were the Japanese, and the Confederation was the U.S. Navy. So yeah, I always try to use that because I just think it basically makes the world feel more real, like things that are happening and all the rest of the stuff. So that's my goal.
Okay, no, that's it's a good thing because it not only shows how far imagination can go. If many people doesn't know about many things in history, by watching them on on a sci-fi show or literature, maybe then so this happened. But in other time, with other characters, the story is the same. So that's what I like it. You can really learn a lot of history by reading or watching sci-fi. That's why we love it. It's a pretty culture.
It's good. No, I same here. Definitely.
Yeah, I have a little question. When you finally voice over the game, are you gonna try to do accents? For example, trying to do the accents from the Earth and the old colonies be more British, more from the Commonwealth, and do the colonies more American and Australian and so on. I'm saying this because you have to know that in the Spanish community we have a big divide, the language, same as yours, and the Spanish we talk in the peninsula in Spain, it isn't really liked by the people in South America, and the same happens with you. So.
Castilian Spanish, which is more the
Castilian Spanish. Yeah, it's more dry for their ears, and maybe it's the same for you. So I was thinking that maybe you were going to do that approach, and maybe when you do the voiceover of the Spanish version, you could do the same. So we can keep the same.
We haven't made up. I mean, there definitely would be cases where people obviously would sound different, but we haven't decided something like, okay, everyone on Earth is old, are English actors, and everybody in Terra are American actors or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, we've actually talked a little bit about it, but we haven't sort of decided. But we probably will. We will probably try and have different accents or inflections for different types of people in the universe.
Yeah, because in the new
colonies, more real. Like when you go to a location and it's somewhere else and they speak with a different accent, it will make it feel more like a different location.
Yeah, because the Xi'an will probably speak with a Chinese accent, and the Banu will probably have maybe an African accent and Moroccan accent, something like that. So that could give another layer to the universe. Keep the accents.
I sort of view the Banu as like the bazaars of Morocco, or that kind of
multicultural aspect. Yeah, people that trade with everyone. That's great.
Okay, well, I think you guys went around around questions, but I also have to.
It's okay. It's okay. You were very generous with us, giving extra time. We packed it 30 minutes, and it's
almost an hour.
It's about 50 minutes, and that was awesome.
It's great talking to you guys. It was it's really nice, and really thanks so much for supporting.
Well, it's something that is worth it to support, because you're making a very, very good job. It's awesome how you're developing this game. You're creating a new way to develop a game involving the community, and that's the reason why it's so successful, and that's the reason this game is going to last 20 years. I'm sure of that. And this community has to make don't get the word, contribution, yes, and that's the reason that I made Ciudadano Estelar, to involve the Hispanic community in the game, to have a voice in the community of the citizen, and watch for the translations, and that's something that we want to
make sure it's good.
We don't want. Yeah.
Subject. To say the least. We have all kinds of flames with the translation. So
we could say we're very proud of our language.
Yeah.
but
anyway,
I think what Adamantler is trying to say is that you are going above and beyond, and the community is responding in kind. We are doing all for you because you are doing it for us, and we know you are busting your balls, creating the best damn space team. So we are doing the same for you.
And because we know you're a gamer too.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky. I mean, if you're anyone that's a creative person, like your dream is to be able to get to make what you want to make without having to have a whole bunch of people that aren't passionate about, business, publishers, investors tend to not be very passionate about games. They just think, it's a way they make the money. Whereas I'm passionate. I'm making a game because I want to play it as much as any other reason. And so it's just really nice to be able to make this game with the support of the community. And everyone just wants to have the best game, right? Like, we're all 100% on the same page. It's like, I just want it to be as cool as possible, and I think all you guys want it to be as cool as possible. And so luckily you guys trust me to try and make a really cool game. Trust me, it's very easy working hard when it's this kind of situation. You've got an amazing supportive community. So I didn't know it would be nearly this great or much of fun as it has been, and I'm really glad I went this way instead of a different way. So.
And we all.
Anyway, thank you very much. That's great to have this interview with you. Hope we have another, maybe in a year, about the launch of the game. Anyway, thank you very much, and we don't want to keep you from your duties.
Okay, well, I'll let you guys go to bed.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Night, guys. Bye.
Bye.